Welcome to the Therapy Show podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Mustard. In each episode, I interview a seasoned and knowledgeable talk therapist from the counseling world to glean valuable insights, techniques, and tools that you can apply to your practice and your life. And if you're considering a career in the counseling field or just want to hear about what it's like to be a talk therapist, then this is the podcast for you. Well, hey friends, welcome to another Put It Into Practice episode. I'm excited to share this week's topic with you. If you haven't already listened, be sure to go to this past Wednesday's episode on the 24th. Go ahead and listen to that after you listen to this one, because it's going to give you some more context to the topic. But that episode is called Navigating Screen Time and Strengthening Family Connections with Andrea Davis of Better Screen Time. And Andrea is an expert in helping families, parents navigate this world of screen time and smartphones, and helping us put into place a healthy tech plan for our family. So she shares her story. She gives some great tips in that episode. But I wanted to kind of dive into the tips a little bit more for this Saturday's episode. If you're a parent and you have kids, no matter how old your kids are, it's coming for you. The whole screen time, having a phone. Your kids might be little right now and it may not be an issue, but it's coming. I promise you, there's no way to avoid it. And we knew that it was coming when our kids were younger. My husband and I had a talk about screens and phones before they even really became a topic that our girls wanted to discuss. So I'm going to give you about 8 tips that will help you establish healthy screen time habits for kids and teens, and maybe even you, because I'm going to ask you in this episode to take a look at your own behavior when it comes to screens and your smartphone. So the first tip I'm really probably going to be talking about smartphones mainly, because that's kind of where our world is right now. We have a pretty good, I don't know what the word is, plan when it comes to screens, like with our TV and how much TV we watch in this house. We don't really watch a lot of TV. We turn it on in the evening. We have a couple of streaming apps, and that's about it. We don't have cable. We got rid of cable a long time ago, and we kind of use TV as a way to unwind as a family, watch a movie. We have shows that we really enjoy watching together as a family, but we have limits on how much screen, and when I say screen, I mean TV, for our kids. So I'm really going to be talking more about phones. So the first one is, and Andrea touches on a lot of these, but I'm going to kind of go into a little bit more depth on them based on my experience as well as working with other families. So number 1 is set clear boundaries. So you want to establish guidelines and boundaries regarding screen time. You want to be very specific about the time limits, screen-free zones, and have rules for device use during important activities such as meals and bedtime. So what does that look like in our house? Our girls have a time limit on their phones, and they have to leave their phone in the kitchen charged overnight. They can't take them into their rooms, and we don't have phones out at meals. And I have to look at my own behavior when it comes to having my smartphone out, because as a podcaster and as someone who has a business and a job and all the things, I can easily have that thing glued to my hip. So I've had to look at my own behavior when it comes to boundaries that I have on screen time. I know I've mentioned to you guys on other episodes that I have taken apps off my phone because I find that they do take up my time and they pull me away from my most important values, family, creatively making a difference, the things that my health and wellness. I find that those apps can take me away, social media apps can take me away from my values. So I have been known to delete an app here and there and, set limits for myself. So I try to lead by example, which is, tip number 2, and try to be a positive role model by practicing healthy screen time habits myself. And I try to show them how to balance digital interactions with offline activities. And we work really hard to engage in screen-free quality time together. And I know that can be really hard, because sometimes it's really easy when your kids are younger to give them a screen or give them a phone and just let them kind of entertain themselves. But I always have thought about, like, what am I modeling to my kids when I do that? So lead by example, take a look at your own behavior. It's going to look different for everybody. There's no judgment here. This is really all about like awareness and self-reflection, and how do you want to be different, possibly moving forward. Okay, number 3, use those parental control features. Don't be afraid to use them. You got to learn how to use them, leverage them on the smartphones as best as you can. Content filters, age appropriate restrictions, and you can also monitor their app usage to ensure safe and enriching digital experience. That's going to look different for everybody. It's also going to look different depending on what apps your kids have, as well as what type of smartphone that you have. Also, this is really important, is to encourage screen-free activities. So, what do your kids like to do? What are their interests? What are their hobbies? Encourage them to do those things. And also encourage outdoor play, encourage reading, creative projects, and social interactions, because that's what's going to foster a well rounded lifestyle. Having them at home, and then the summer's coming up. And I know some days it's hard because maybe you work outside of the home as well as work inside the home, and your kids are, sometimes you just got to leave them at home. And what are they going to do? They're going to probably use their phones. But if that's the case, you can set limits on the phones and encourage them to do other things. If they're old enough to walk to the library, to go on bike rides, like what did we do as kids? Like think back to what we did as kids before we had phones, and encourage them to, do those things. If you have a park nearby, go outside, play basketball, play volleyball, I know I said go for bike rides, maybe start a little business, whatever is appropriate for your kids and their age and their developmental stage.
Are you thinking of starting a podcast this year? Or perhaps you're a seasoned podcaster and you're looking for someone to take the podcast production off your plate. If so, we are currently taking on new clients and would love to be your production partner of choice. My name is Chelsea Weaver and I am the owner of Chelsea Weaver Podcasting. I offer podcast startup packages, audio and video editing, plus show notes, graphics, and reels. So consider us a one-stop shop for all your podcast needs. A little bit about me, I have over 5+ years of experience in audio and video production. I am an Army veteran who served in Afghanistan during Operation Enduring Freedom. I partner with other female veterans who are also experienced in podcast production and social media services. We'd love to chat with you about your podcasting and social media needs and can be reached at chelseaweaverpodcasting.com. That's CHELSEAWEAVER podcasting.com.
Okay, the next thing we want to do is foster open communication. So you want to really work on the environment, that you can create an environment where your children feel comfortable discussing their digital experiences with you. Encourage open conversation about online safety, cyberbullying, and responsible, they call it digital citizenship. I guess that means like be a good steward of digital and technology, the media. What's really important here, and Andrea touches on this in the episode this past Wednesday, is the relationship that you have with your child. So I want you to really look at what is the relationship that you have with your kids, and how do you interact with them? How do you engage with them? How do you find time together to have meaningful conversation? It's really important. And then once you have that environment going, then you can enter these conversations. And it's going to look different for your kids as they are at different ages and stages. So keep that in mind too. If you have a teenager, it's going to look different than if you have a 12-year-old or an 11-year-old. Another thing that you can do is you can collaborate on media choices. So for example, you can work together in selecting, age appropriate apps, games, and content for them, and teach them how to critically evaluate and analyze the information that they're encountering online. Encourage them to make informed choices, teach them how to be critical thinkers, teach them how they want to, talk to them about how they want to show up in the world, and help them evaluate their thoughts and their feelings and their actions. Is it congruent with what you hope to see and what they're actually doing? Something we already talked about, establish these boundaries, and that means like a tech-free bedtime routine to ensure quality sleep. I know as an adult, it's really easy for me to think I'm going to unwind with my phone as I scroll Instagram or Facebook in bed. But honestly, it does not help me at all. It really does affect my quality of sleep. So I make a point to not be on the phone before I go to bed. I will say that sometimes I do listen to meditation or guided imagery on an app that I have on my phone, because it does help me relax and unwind. But after I'm done with that, I put it away. I put it away, put it away, put it away. I move it to another part of the bedroom or into the other room. Also, read before going to bed instead of looking at a screen. It's so much better for you to help with your sleep. And sometimes that puts me to sleep. So it puts my husband to sleep. But just keep in mind, where your phone is in your room and how you're using it. Okay, and I know that I already kind of mentioned this one, but promote offline connections. So encourage your children to build meaningful relationships offline. Have play dates for them, family outings, extracurricular activities that promote face-to-face interactions and develop social skills beyond the phone and the screen. Super important to have them engaging with other kids, with your family, other activities that you can, get them into. I know it's hard. Summer is about to be here. If you don't have things already planned, maybe you're listening to this going, oh my gosh, I'm scrambling to find activities for your kids. But if you're aware of these things and you're reflecting on them and you're making changes, you can't really mess this up. I think it really starts with taking a look at our own behavior and how we're modeling this to our children, how we show up in relationships, how we show up in conversations. They're always watching and they're learning from us, and we need to be the best role model that we can be for them. So I hope you guys found these tips helpful. I do in the show notes, I'm going to give you a couple of resources that might be helpful for you. There are, smartphones out there that are geared towards kids. If you want your kid to have a smartphone, but you don't want them to have access to all the apps and all the other things, but you want them to have something so they can stay in touch with you, maybe, for however that works for you and your family, you can definitely go with just a basic smartphone or brick phone even. But I'll put some resources in the show notes if you guys want to check them out. But by implementing these tips, we play an active role in establishing their healthy screen habits for our teens and for our kids. And remember, it's all about finding a balance between digital engagement and offline experiences. So once again, go back and listen to that interview with Andrea Davis of Better Screen Time. I'll put the link in the show notes if you want to just head over to the show notes and click it. Andrea is also doing a special discount for the listeners of the podcast where you can get 20% off her 2 courses. So head over to betterscreentime.com, look for her courses, check them out, and then you can use the code LISA, LISA in all caps, and get 20% off of her courses. All right, you guys, I hope you have a great weekend, and I will be in your ears again soon. Take care. Well, that wraps up another episode of The Therapy Show with Lisa Mustard. I know there are hundreds of thousands of podcasts out there, and I'm thankful you've chosen to listen to mine.
Be sure to visit lisamustard.com to access the show notes and discover more fantastic content.
And I'd be grateful if you subscribe to the show. Thank you.